Tonight, an alleged killer apprehended for the brazen attack of a 12-year-old boy.
So surveillance video is definitely a big part of it.
Details on the police takedown 3 provinces away and the 2 other high-profile Toronto murder cases police say are connected.
It is super high. It's higher, I know that.
And the Brampton neighborhood in shock tonight by an alarming rate of positive COVID tests, more than 5 times higher than the rest of the province. We've got the details on how scientists use postal code data to figure it out.
I'm seriously looking at solutions that may include some period out of class.
Plus the COVID numbers that could be adding to an extended winter break for school kids. We'll show you when the education minister says he'll get us his answer. You are looking live at a growing memorial on Jane Street and Strong Court in North York. That's where 12-year-old Dante Andrietta was struck and killed by a stray bullet during a shooting on November 7th. He was struck while out shopping with his mother. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Toronto police charged a 3rd man in connection with the boy's murder today, and they allege that 27-year-old Toronto man is involved in 2 other high-profile homicides. Greg Ross now with the technology behind the takedown.
Police now have 3 men in custody they say are responsible for this brazen attack that killed a 12-year-old boy. 25-year-old Jawan Smart and 24-year-old Rashawn Chambers are the accused gunmen. Police arrested them last week. Today, police are naming the person they say drove the getaway car.
27-year-old CJ Hobbs was arrested by police in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Police say Hobbs was not only the driver in that shooting, they say he drove the getaway car in at least 2 other murders this year.
On Tuesday, May 26, 2020, shortly after 4 p.m., 21-year-old Demario Jenkins, also known as Houdini, was shot and killed on Blue Jays Way in the city of Toronto.
Hobbs is also charged with first-degree murder in this shooting in front of the Bisha Hotel, where rapper Houdini was killed and 2 others injured. Hobbs is facing yet another first-degree murder charge in a drive-by shooting last month, where a 27-year-old man was murdered.
Mr. Zakarai was in the process of placing his 5-month-old baby in the back of his car.
Police say technology played a big role in connecting Hobbs to all 3 of these shootings.
So surveillance video is definitely a big part of it. I think we've all seen the dash cam video of the actual shooting, which will form part of the case. But there's a lot more going on in the background as well, and a lot more evidence.
Police have not yet identified the shooters in the murders of Jenkins and Zakari, and at this point, they're not saying whether or not Hobbs is cooperating with those investigations. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
We're also learning today that Dante Andrietta's organs were donated to others in need. That's according to a family friend who started an online fundraiser for the boy's family. The friend says Dante's organs were donated to 9 people in need.
Recipients of Dante's organs would not have lived otherwise. He has given them life. He has given them a second chance, and not only the recipients, but think of the families that surround those recipients.
And people are remembering Andrietta's life tonight as well. He is being remembered as a young boy who enjoyed soccer, swimming, and bike riding with his friends and cousins. So far, the GoFundMe page has raised more than $33,000. Now to the latest on the pandemic, and a Toronto-based research group has found these 30 GTA neighborhoods have a troubling trend. They have the highest rates of people testing positive with COVID-19 in our region. One Brampton neighborhood really stands out. It has a rate of 5 times higher than the provincial average. That neighborhood is where our Kelda Yoon is tonight.
Here by Castlemore and the Gore Road is smack dab in the Brampton neighborhood found to have the highest test positivity rate in the GTA.
I'm really surprised.
I'm not surprised because I saw Diwali celebration just in another plaza.
The research group ICES, which monitors Ontario's healthcare system, found in the area bounded by Queen Street to the south, Mayfield Road to the north, Airport Road to the west, and Highway 50 to the east. The test positivity rate was a staggering 19%. Researchers used the postal codes of those who tested positive for COVID-19 between November 1st and the 7th to determine the neighborhoods with the highest rates. 12 other neighborhoods in Peel also made the list.
In Brampton and Peel region, we're seeing a significant rate, and unfortunately, it is in that population. We talk about 30% of the population being South Asian, but nearly 50% of the cases being South Asian. That this is a very forward-facing community, that there are a lot of public jobs and ones where people are getting repeated exposures.
Dr. Farah Mawani agrees.
There's a lot of manufacturing type jobs there, for example, that of course cannot be done at home.
And taking a look at some of the other neighborhoods on the list, 14 in Toronto, 2 in York, and 1 in Halton.
In most cases, I would say I'm not very surprised. We have known for quite some time, which populations and which communities are being excluded in various ways.
Many of those neighborhoods have sizable immigrant populations. Mawani says it's important to study each neighborhood and to take a targeted approach.
And really look at what the specific context and needs of those groups and communities are. And a really key way of doing that is to actually work with those communities. They know their context and needs best, and they also often know the solutions.
Back in Brampton, Mayor Patrick Brown has been sounding the alarm. More funding is needed. The federal government has since confirmed it will fund a $6.5 million isolation facility in Peel. Kelly News, CBC News, Brampton.
Ontario's top doctor is under fire again tonight, this time for suggesting the province could be back to its lowest level of pandemic restrictions by Christmas. Other doctors led the charge against him today, but even the premier seemed leery about that prediction. Lorenda Redekop now with what some are calling a dangerous disconnect.
Today, Toronto set another record for new cases in one day, with 569.
We can get these numbers down.
Just yesterday, the chief medical officer talked about the whole province improving when it comes to the COVID alert levels.
I would like to think everybody would be in green, especially before the time of Christmas.
Green is the most relaxed stage of the alert levels.
To be totally frank, I think those comments are totally disconnected from reality and are actually really quite dangerous. It projects the idea that things are almost in control, and if everybody just takes the right steps, that things will be in control.
This doctor works in Peel, where he's seeing more people in hospital.
The only chance that we could be even close to a green zone by Christmas is if the province went into a deep lockdown right now, including closure of schools.
Today, 127 people are in intensive care in Ontario, up 2 from yesterday. Once that hits 150, some surgeries have to be cancelled.
Dr. David Williams is working from a different playbook from just about every physician in this province. We're planning for essentially Armageddon in some of the ICUs in the hardest hit areas. I'm completely bewildered. I don't actually know what he's talking about.
Here's how the Premier and Health Minister responded to Williams' statement.
Dr. Williams, he's a positive doctor. He's always looking at the glass as half full, and we all have to stay positive. We all have to have hope.
Well, of course, we are very hopeful that all of Ontario will be in a green situation before the holidays, but I don't think it's something that we can count on.
And despite Dr. Williams' positivity, the Education Minister confirms he's considering an extended school shutdown over the holidays.
We are working actively with Dr. Williams and the COVID command table to seek their guidance and concurrence on a plan that would reduce transmission going into 2021. I'm seriously looking at solutions that may include some period out of class.
The Education Minister says that decision will come in the next week or two. The Health Minister says to expect more guidance from Dr. Williams on what we should all be doing in the coming weeks. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Next up, a CBC News exclusive. At least 2 Toronto police divisions are dealing with COVID-19 outbreaks. In just a matter of days, approximately 20 officers and staff have been infected and dozens more sent home to isolate as a precaution. Now, with the details you won't get anywhere else, here's John Lancaster.
What's most concerning to officers we spoke to off camera is the recent and rapid rise in the spread of COVID-19. The CBC News has learned the worst outbreak is at Scarborough's 41 Division, where at least 8 officers have tested positive for COVID in the last 4 days alone. 50 other officers are either off sick or isolating. That's a quarter of the station's workforce. And some of those officers also had dealings, we've learned, with fellow cops in Durham and Peel region. It's believed the outbreak began when 2 or 3 officers came into contact with a person who'd been arrested and subsequently tested positive for COVID-19. At downtown 14 Division, at least 6 officers have also tested positive in the past week. Here's what we know. As of last Friday, 74 Toronto officers and staff had tested positive for COVID-19 since the pandemic began. As of yesterday, the number had jumped by a dozen to 86. Today's numbers aren't yet available. Toronto police say because of privacy reasons, they can't confirm how many officers are infected. They say officers from other divisions have been called in to make up the void, and as it stands, public safety is not at risk. John Lancaster, CBC News, Toronto.
Taking you now to St. Clair West Village, and one person is dead after a 2-alarm house fire this afternoon. It happened near Rogers and Westmount, but smoke was seen all around the neighborhood. It's believed the fire started in the basement and worked its way up. The cause of the blaze is still under investigation. And one person has died in a house fire early this morning in the Yonge and Shepherd area. The fire broke out in a home on Norton Avenue around 5 this morning. Firefighters found the second floor engulfed in flames when they arrived. After putting out the fire, they found a body inside. CBC News spoke to the landlord of the home, and he says he rented the residence to a woman, but he believes she had up to 3 other people living with her. The fire marshal is joining police in investigating that one. In Scarborough, a man is dead after an incident in the Port Union and Highway 401 area. Some of the residents in that neighborhood say they heard a commotion close to midnight.
I thought I heard knocking at the door, and I came up and I looked out, but I didn't see anything. And then I went to the back door and I looked out and I didn't see anything. And I went back to bed, and then about 50 minutes later, I thought I heard somebody yelling.
All right, so this couple lives near the house where police were called late last night. They found a man without vital signs. His body was removed from the scene earlier today. A woman was found with serious injuries and was taken to the hospital. That woman was then taken into police custody. Neighbors say a woman and her children had been renting the basement of the home, and investigators are asking anyone with information to get in touch with them. Today at the Yonge Street van attack murder trial, it was prosecutors' turn to question the father of admitted killer Alec Manassian. The Richmond Hill man faces 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. Yesterday, his defense team argued he should be found not criminally responsible due to his autism diagnosis. As our Trevor Dunn shows us, today's cross-examination hinges on one key moment of that police interrogation.
Did you want to speak to duty counsel?
Alec Manassian being interviewed by police in the hours after the deadly van attack. The 4-hour video was made public long before the trial, but it's only this short portion of it under the microscope today.
Sit tight.
The detective leaves the room, and left alone, Manassian bows his head. He appears to be sniffling, at one point rubbing his face with his sleeve. But is Manassian crying? If so, it could be at odds with his defense. Manassian is arguing that due to autistic spectrum disorder, he lacked the capacity to know if the attack was right or wrong. Yesterday, Manassian's father, Vahe, watched the video and said his son isn't crying in it. Today, the Crown suggested that Manassian is trying to protect his son. You believed it would help Alec in his defense to show that he's incapable of emotions or incapable of remorse, Crown lawyer Cynthia Valarezo put to Manassian. I told what I believe to be true based on what I saw, he responded. But it isn't what Manassian's father saw in November 2019.
According to interview notes from a defense psychiatrist, Vahe Manassian told the doctor that his son was breaking down and crying in that part of the video. I'm going to suggest that the reason you're changing what it is you say you saw is because you're trying to tell the court what you think it needs to hear so that it helps your son out. That's actually not true, Manassian responded. Yesterday, he also told the court that his son had a lack of emotion and didn't understand emotion. But today, the Crown attempted to prove that Vahe Manassian doesn't know everything about his son. It used interviews Alec had with doctors after the attack. In one, he said he felt guilty because of the sadness in his mother's eyes. In another, he told a doctor that his father's reaction to the attack would be devastating. Wouldn't it be fair that these are further examples of information that Alec is keeping from you? The Crown asked. Yes, I'm surprised by that, Manassian answered. The first of those doctors who interviewed Alec Manassian is expected to testify tomorrow. Trevor Dunn, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, Schitt's Creek co-creator Dan Levy already has 9 Emmys, and he's adding to his accolades. We'll tell you about his latest nod after the break. Plus,
we still have some lake effect snows and flurries. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy, but the winds will be changing and lighter tomorrow, and so the forecast changing too. All the details after the break.
Canadian actor Dan Levy is probably still riding high after picking up a record-setting 9 Emmy wins in September for Schitt's Creek, and now he's been named one of People's Sexiest Men Alive. The 37-year-old writer and actor was among the first names to be unveiled as part of the magazine's annual list. Levy joked that this form of sexy is a niche market and reflected on his life in quarantine, which has included binging television shows and mixing cocktails, like probably a lot of us. The cover star and ultimate victor in this year's competition will be announced tonight on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and the issue hits newsstands on Friday. Popping outside, here's a live look at Toronto's harbor. Can't tell from that shot, but boy, is it cold out there. And let's go now to Colette Kennedy. Colette, colder tonight and even some minor snow across our region.
Thanks, Chris. Well, we certainly had areas with snowfall accumulations, but for the GTA, it tended to be a situation with variable skies, and we continue to have that one moment, the clearer conditions, and then the next more cloud cover and even some flurries making their way into the city. So this is because of these winds, that colder air driving across the relatively warmer waters of the lake. So still, it's highly localized, but some lake effect through the night till those winds really back off, and they will, and even change direction as we get into the day on Wednesday. So still in the morning could be some activity, and then it should really be dying off. But it's going to be a cold start on Wednesday morning. Some cool temperatures tonight, and with enough of those winds still blowing to provide a wind chill. So we're going to go through what those numbers look like. But the big turnaround, just completely changing our situation in terms of our temperatures going from below seasonal to above seasonal. That is coming for Thursday and for the end of the week. So there'll be a few days of it, but just kind of showing you how things went through the day today with the temperature progression from 7 a.m. Only a few spots, Barrie and Ottawa, actually below freezing, so it wasn't that cool. But then, as those winds kind of ramped up, temperatures started falling off. We hit our high, though, up towards Toronto, 3 degrees, Oshawa, but that was right at noon, as it was getting colder in southwestern Ontario, and then into the afternoon, sure enough, lots of negatives showed up on the board there in terms of the temperatures and things falling off. And lake effect, yes, there are still areas where you have the reduced visibility. I mean, you get into the whiteout conditions. If you live in the snowbelt or in areas where you're accustomed to this, you know what I'm talking about. So as those winds ease off, look how those bands will ease off as well, and that's when we see that shift in direction, but also them becoming lighter in intensity. So more sunshine then into the day on Wednesday, especially into the afternoon. As we go into Thursday, though, it gets breezier. Going to see a warm front passing by. That's some of this cloud cover that you'd seen passing through the skies, and then that's going to pick those temperatures up, and that's why they're going in the other direction. So this is what not just the temperatures look like tonight for southwestern Ontario, but check out your wind chills, -8 to -12. So tomorrow morning, it might be time to, change over to that coat that maybe you haven't got out of the cupboard yet. It might be time, but into the afternoon, a pleasant afternoon for sure, and 5 degrees, and those winds will turn to the southwest there too, so they will lighten up. Overnight around the Golden Horseshoe, the readings like this, so the wind chill is very similar to southwestern Ontario for tomorrow morning too, and then this is what the afternoon looks like, so really trending below seasonal there, and this is where we switch to that other direction when we're going up to double digits for Thursday, so 10 degrees. Yes, it will be a little bit breezy, but it's a warmer breeze. At least the direction is. Friday, mostly cloudy, still 14 degrees. A better chance of getting into showers both Saturday and into Sunday, but still those numbers are on the mild side for the most part, Chris.
Looking good, my friend. Thanks a lot.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
A quick break for us, and when we come back, we asked and you delivered. Why our inbox is flooded with photos of your adorable rescue pups is coming up after the break. Welcome back. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden was the first ever candidate to receive more than 78 million votes. He'll also be the first to bring a rescue dog into the White House. So in honor of the new feat, Metro Morning put a call out asking you to send in a photo of your rescue pup, and hundreds answered the call. We compiled a video montage of the entries, and you're going to want to take a look. Love all those photos, and I want that bow tie. Just some of the hundreds of submissions we received, and that is our show for you tonight. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night.